Okay. Video and audio looks go. Here goes nothing. Hello, folks. Happy Friday. It is October 30th. I will not be doing an actual Halloween stream because I have things to do with my family on actual Halloween. That being said, I am here this evening to do a little celebrating with y'all. So strap in. This is going to be fun. Welcome. For those that don't know, this is Staghammer Studio, and I am your humble host, Wes. I'd like to welcome all of you. This is my weekly hobby stream that I do just kind of for lulz. This is a time where I would be sitting around and doing some painting and hobbying anyway. And I figure it certainly can't hurt to turn on a camera and document it for the whole of the internet. What could go wrong, right? So yeah, anyway, that being said, we've been doing all month, and actually probably since like the middle of September was when I officially started my Spooky Spook-tober Spooktacular. Yep, that's what I'm calling it. And yeah, we just kind of once fall officially struck and it was no longer summer, that meant it was Halloween up until it's not Halloween anymore. That's kind of how I roll. Yeah, so we've been working on all manner of spooky models for my Legions of Nagash army. We've done skeletons, we've done ghosts, we've done zombies, probably more of all of that stuff. It's been fun. You can go back through my playlists and find all those episodes should you not have seen them. They will be hopefully entertaining. But yeah, so today marks the end of the Spooky Spook-tober Spooktacular, and as the sort of culmination of everything I've been working towards, I have a rather special model that I'm going to be working on tonight. Now, you might think at first blush that this guy is done, because there is already quite a bit of paint on him. But he is not done. There is quite a bit that I have left to do before I'll be happy with him. Number one on that list is I absolutely hate the color I painted his skin. I just don't like it. So I'm basically going to be repainting a vast majority of his skin tonight. Or at least what little skin is left. You might be asking yourself, but Wes, what is this amazing thing? You can kind of see his head poking in the bottom right corner, which is weird because I'm holding him in my left hand. The fact that things are mirrored takes some getting used to. But anyway, so here's what we're working on. Wow. My Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Wow. Yeah. So this guy has been, he's the general of my army, and he is basically the thing around which all of the stupid lore that I've written for my army revolves. I absolutely adore this model. And the sort of narrative opportunities of a Vampire Lord are just super endless and super cool. So anyway, yeah, he, like I said, he's been kind of a work in progress for a long time, and I put him, kind of shelved him for a while. Reason being, I wasn't happy with specifically his skin, but I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do with it. So until I just kind of set him aside and said, we'll get to it later. I didn't want to mess around with it until I was like sure I was going to be happy with it. So this guy right here, I went ahead and took him off so that hopefully I can show him a little bit better here. This is the Vampire Lord himself, and you can find pictures of this guy and his noble steed. You know what? Actually, let's just drop down to the desk cam on the YouTubes, and that should. Wow, that camera is all manner of jacked up. All right, let's fix you. Clearly, I punched you at some point in the last couple of days. Can we just pretend like we are... Oh, that's worse. Alright, that's a little better. Anyway, not perfect, but better. But it's not better enough. That's betterer. That's more betterer. Anyway, does our trusty camera want to focus? Of course not. It wants to focus on my mat and not the hand that I'm trying to get him to focus on. There we go. There we go. That's it. Focus on the hand. Oh, we fucked that up. Anyway, whatever. You get the idea. He's got cool purple metallic armor. He's got a blue head because, you know, he's undead and he's real cold. I modeled a lot of the sort of like paint scheme and the general idea, as I've mentioned before, from the Wrath of the Lich King expansion for World of Warcraft, which was one of my favorites. And this guy is effectively one of my Death Knights. And he will, hopefully in the narrative campaign to come, he will rise to prominence. Otherwise, this here is this horror be the dragon. And he's got a bunch of cool stuff going on with him. I like him. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of the skin color. So in my head, I decided that he was like he used to be a black dragon, right? And the idea was I wanted all of these guys to be very cold, like frigid models. Wanted to use a lot of cool colors. And then I chose whatever the fuck gray this is, which is the farthest thing from a cool gray that I could possibly imagine. And I just wasn't happy with it. It's like a warm gray, and my plan was to highlight it up with even more warm gray. And no part of me was happy at all with the color that I picked. So I have opted to revisit the skin, and I am going to be using a series of blue grays instead. So we're going to be starting out with this as our sort of dark base coat, and then doing some highlighting with these two colors respectively, I think. And we'll see how that goes. Honestly, this one here might even be too bright. So I have one color that's kind of in the middle that might be a sort of a better option. So, you know what, we'll stick with those for now. And maybe on some extreme highlights, I'll bust out that other one. But for now, I think these will essentially do the trick. The majority of it's going to be this super dark blue-gray anyway. Dark Reaper is the name of the color. Then we've got Thunderhawk Blue. We've got Rust Gray. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Vampire Lord back off. We don't need him saddled up at the moment. He's just going to get in the way. We want him safe. The dragon himself has a brass rod that connects him to the base that was added in to give him the cool base and the fun mounted sort of thing. So we don't need the base, so we're going to set that aside. So yeah, we're going to be working mostly on this guy today. So we're going to hold him probably by the little brass rod as much as we can, because I don't want to touch the rest of them. Although I'm pretty sure I have, at the very least, put some matte varnish on this since the last time I worked on it. At least I hope I did. But either way, I think we're ready to get to work on him, and I'm excited. So yeah, so we're gonna take this like basically one appendage at a time, and I'm just gonna start out on one leg. We're gonna slap some base coats on it, and then we're gonna move to the other leg, and then each wing independently, and then once all of that is done, we'll shift over to working on the main portion of the body, which is likely to be the lion's share of the work. We will see how much of this I actually managed to get through, tonight. But I wanted to at least work on this guy on camera, and since he's like the most special member of my army, and the most special, coolest, biggest undead thing I have, you know, I figured he'd be a good thing to work on. Take a nice sip of coffee there. All right, so we're going to ever so gently set this guy down. We're going to grab some brushes. Take you and you. And I don't know. Be good for now. Let's see. We have, yeah. That brush to use and that brush to use. Okay. We're gonna drop back down to the desk. We're gonna pop the top on our palette here. Now, I have been working over the last couple of weeks, the last like week and a half specifically, on a commission for a friend of mine for his D&D group. I really want to show it on here in its entirety, but it is not yet done, and I kind of want it, but it's close, and I kind of want it to be a surprise for the customer when he gets to finally see it. It's also going out. It's like I said, part of his D&D game, so I don't want to spoil anything in the event some of his players happen across this. So, you know. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm looking forward. It was due today, and then I wasn't happy with a few things, and I was kind of bummed that I was going to have to give it to him in a state that I wasn't like completely happy with. And then it snowed a bunch, so his D&D game got canceled, and he was like, you know what, why don't you just hang on to it for another couple of weeks until my next scheduled game, at which time I will come pick it up from you. And I said, great, that sounds awesome. That gives me some time to tweak the things that I was unhappy with. Alright, so anyway, so we've got some Dark Reaper on our wet palette now, and we are getting to work. One of the things that I was super happy with was the way the wings came out here. It looks like almost like a metallic something or other there, but it's not. It's just a series of like successive colors, bunch of different shades of purple, some purple washes, layered and glazed, and layered and glazed, and then like a light blue to kind of like highlight it. And just the way that it came out, I was super happy with. But the underside of the wings just has the dark purple, purple gray base coat, and not even a solid one. Like, it's all like splotchy and stuff. So I have to do that at some point. Like I said, this model is not as done as it appears. But that's all right. Baby steps. Baby steps. All right, so we're going to just start laying this down. I'm probably going to need a couple of coats of this to get good coverage. The gray that's down there is not super, like, it's not a ton darker than what I'm working with now, but I just want to make sure that I'm getting a good, strong, even coat of this, since this is going to be the base coat. I don't want any of that dark gray showing through. Especially because it's like a different temperature of gray. Like, it's a very warm gray versus this very cold gray. Which ultimately, like, the cold gray is way more in line with what I had originally envisioned. So it's a friendly reminder that everyone makes mistakes. You can learn from those mistakes. And it's never, ever, ever, ever too late to just repaint. And you can always just add more paint. One of the reasons you want to stick with nice thin layers. You don't want to glop it on there so that it's easier to make some edits if you have to. But realistically, this is going to be no more difficult than putting that initial coat of gray on there. I say that like it was super easy, but especially up like in this region, up on like the top of his neck, where like all that shredded flesh is, that really sucked. That really sucked to paint. Especially because I got this model sort of already assembled. I wish I could take credit for the conversion. I wish I could take credit for the cool pose and the cool base. But I found him on eBay like that. And I bought him in a heartbeat. Yeah. For a long while, I was playing with this guy in like my home games and stuff, which is realistically pretty much all I play is home games. I don't really do tournaments. Not by any particular dislike for tournaments, mind you. I would actually really enjoy playing in a tournament or two. But there just aren't a ton. And obviously, these days, with everything going on with COVID and whatnot, there are even less sort of social gatherings, like a tournament. So my chances are less than usual. But as most tournaments around here that do happen, there's a couple of local game stores that would have like weekend events, like a couple of like 1 or 2 day events. But as I said, they all take place on the weekends, which you would think would be great. But my wife works on the weekends, so I basically am on daddy duty all weekends. Which, mind you, me saying that is in no way, shape, or form a complaint. Just a statement of fact. So, I do not often get that opportunity, but I would love to go do that at some point. Test my mettle, as it were. Okay. So for what it's worth, I'm looking at this right now, and I can already tell that I like this color better than the previous color. It's definitely more in line with what I had envisioned in terms of the sort of like Because like this blue-gray, this model is like so big that I can't keep it in frame. At least not where I'm painting it particularly well. But anyway, the hell was I saying? I don't remember. I'm sure whatever it was super, super interesting and super important. Oh. Yeah, I was just talking about how this color was more in line with what I had originally envisioned, yada yada. And I had originally wanted it to look like it was like a, you know, all of these models were in a very cold environment. And this was a long dead, you know, sort of desiccated zombie dragon that was in a very cold environment. And as a dark, like, black-skinned dragon, you know, your black, like, can kind of go a couple of different ways with fading. It can either go as like a kind of a browny gray, or it goes kind of bluey, blue-ish, blue, I don't know, whatever the word is. Anywho, it's been a really long week. I just want to throw that out there. Like, I've been slamming away on this commission, but at the same time, like, I was an hour late for work one day this week because I grossly overslept my alarm. I don't remember it going off. I don't think I just like shut it off and like went back to sleep. I got a new phone recently, and it had different alarm clock settings, amongst many other different settings that I haven't quite figured out. While it transferred over the time of the alarm, being 3:30 in the morning, it did not transfer over the volume and ringtone of that alarm. So it chose for me some ringtone for the alarm that was like this very soft melodic thing, and played it at like 1/4 volume. So even if I had been awake, it probably would have just lulled me back to sleep. Not a good choice. I've since rectified that, but the damage was done. So, but yeah, you can see, hopefully, on that leg, that it's definitely like a dark, like, in a certain light, it could certainly look black, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's had some of that, I mean, it's had the life drained out of it, quite literally. And so, you know, without all that blood rushing through and all that stuff, some of that color has drained out, and it's leaving behind this nice, you know, sort of like dull gray blue, as opposed to the other leg, which is a very like warm gray. Hopefully you can see the difference. But suffice to say, I am happy with the changes already, and I'm not even done with this leg. So I hope everybody else had a good week. Aside from being late to work that one day, my wife and I have been in the process of transitioning our 2-year-old from sleeping in our bed, which she has done basically since she was born, sort of to varying degrees. Like, we tried a crib in the room for a little bit. We tried a bassinet. We tried a few different things, but we ended up, like, the baby slept better. My wife was more comfortable because she was, like, nursing the entire time. And it was just easier for her to be able to, like, roll over and, you know, nurse. Especially since, like, you know, we both have to get up fairly early often. So anyway, what I'm getting at is we are in the process of transitioning her over to sleeping in a big girl bed, which is exciting, especially for me, because I have to go to bed early and wake up early. And as happened a number of times this week, sometimes my daughter decides that she just isn't ready for bed. The rest of the family is ready, but she is not. So she will often, like, keep me awake until way past the point of, like, sensibility. As I've stated, I wake up sometime between 3 and 3:30 for work in the morning. And she will keep me up off until, like, 11 o'clock, 11:30 sometimes. Just not wanting to go to sleep, just fighting it, you know, like doing WWE wrestling moves, you know, on the bed and stuff, just like jumping, kicking, not wanting to lay down, not wanting, you know, 2-year-old stuff. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. But there was a couple of nights this week, like most of the early part of the week, in fact. So, like, I think Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night specifically, my daughter insisted that I come up and help, like, put her to sleep in her new bed. So I went in and lay with her and, like, you know, read her books and stuff like that, and basically, like, finally would get her to go down and sleep. But the this was not a timely thing, you know what I mean? Like, this took a lot of doing sometimes, because again, more often than not, she was not actually ready for bed, even though she seemed more than ready, and the rest of the family was ready. So yeah, I was up a number of nights till probably, like, at least 11 o'clock, and then was up at 3 o'clock the next morning. And so I've been kind of delirious for the last, like, week straight. So it'd definitely be a little bit easier if I wasn't trying to do it on camera and worry about trying to keep things in frame, which I know and fully admit that I am doing a piss poor job of, but trying anyway. Alright, so we're going to set him down for now, and we're just going to let that leg dry thoroughly. In the meantime, do that. So let's see. What other, while waiting for, some, spray varnish to dry on my commission piece, I took the opportunity to do a little bit of building, and in fact a little bit of priming of my copy of the Mortark kit. So the Mortarks are Nagash's, basically Nagash's generals, or like right hands. His actual right hand, in terms of like leadership, is Archon the Black, which is my favorite of the Mortarks. But he's essentially a sort of a vaguely Egyptian-themed lich-looking fellow. Very cool model. But he is he's the one that I plan to actually like build and use most often. But I've been working on the mount. I built that, the mount itself, I should say, is what I like to refer to as sub-assembly hell. In order to do the thorough job painting it that I would like to, I basically had to clip it all apart and not assemble anything until like the pieces were done being painted. So I did some priming of that. I was able to assemble some of it. Not... Oh, I think it's up on that shelf. Can I reach it? Let's see. There we go. So this is a good chunk of the mount for Archon the Black. He's got a very long tail. There's some ghosties, and then his like skeletal torso here, just jam-packed full of skulls, because it's a Games Workshop sculpt. I had started painting this before, and I was unhappy with unhappy with how it was shaping up. So I was still in the very early stages too, so I was like, you know what, we're just going to slap some white primer over the top of this, and we're starting over. But all of this I was easily able to combine and actually build, because it doesn't like conflict with itself naturally, which is nice. That being said, the rest of the model, like, so for instance, his like forelegs and forearms, so from like the elbow to the wrist, is like 3 different pieces. There's a core down the center of skulls, and then around it, it's like encased in like bone plates. But you can still see the skulls through the bone plates. So if I were to glue it all together and assemble it, I wouldn't be able to actually paint all of the skulls on the inside. And that bothers me. So I basically cleaned up the pieces, and then that stuff's all going to just get primed, and then that will all get painted some point in the near future. So I had thought about making that the subject of tonight's show, and painting at least the body portion of it. But I decided to go with the zombie dragon, because one, I think he's cooler. I mean, pretty much it. What more reason do you need? But I also I use him in my army as my general, and part of... I mean, I would have been painting spooky stuff anyway this time of year. And that's usually what I do. Last year around this time, I painted like 1,000 points of Night Haunt in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. Which, I mean, I guess you can sort of decide for yourself whether that's a good speed or not. For me, it was pretty decent, especially because I had like a 1-year-old at the time, because this was last year. And so the fact that I was able to get anything painted, I felt like that was kind of a miracle in and of itself. But yeah, this guy just seemed like a better choice in terms of things that would be more interesting to paint. Whether or not that was the right decision, well, who knows? But I think more importantly, or as I was sort of trying to get at a little earlier, and then as I so often do, I just kind of derailed my own thought process. But the sort of decision-making process in what stuff I was going to paint on stream for the Spooky Spook-tober Spooktacular, a lot of that decision-making process is, well, is it part of my 2,000 point list? And if the answer is yes, then that kind of got like bumped up the list. So yeah. What else? I did, I don't remember if I had this by the last stream I did or not, or if this was a newer purchase. But I had purchased a while back the corpse card for my army, which was the last key piece that I was missing. And I got that assembled. I ordered it a few weeks back, and it came in, I think, last weekend, something like that. And I wasn't able to get him built in time for last week's show. And I think part of me had intended on at least sort of showing him off or talking about him a little bit more in depth this week. But I brought him out to the garage for priming, which I have not yet done. I have not primed him yet. And that was basically because I decided that I wasn't going to be painting him on the show tonight. So I was like, okay, there's no particular rush in getting that done. So no big deal. I realize too that I am once again way out of camera on the YouTube stream here. I'm half tempted just to put it back on like face mode and just kind of like sit back and paint this thing. But we'll keep the desk cam going on and just try and bring it into frame periodically to show what's going on. I have reclaimed one of my old desk chairs, and it's a lot larger, but I will also add it is way more comfortable than the one that I had before. Anybody that's been watching for a while knows that I've complained a number of times about that old chair and just how mighty uncomfortable it was. Excuse me. Goodness. Yeah, it was super uncomfortable. And this chair had been upstairs in another room. It was down here at one point, and then when I moved my hobby stuff upstairs shortly before my daughter was born, I was able to move it up there and with it. So this was still my sort of like preferred hobby chair, painting chair, whatever. But then sometime later, I think maybe a year ago, was when, like, so my daughter was roughly 1, I think. Maybe like, I don't know, 18 months or something, when I moved my hobby stuff back downstairs. And for whatever reason, the chair kind of remained upstairs. My wife needed it, and there was another chair that I could use downstairs that was a little bit smaller, and but my wife has since found a new chair that fits her needs better, so I have gotten mine. I've reclaimed it. I've gotten it back. In other interesting news, completely unrelated to hobby in any way, shape, or form. My hometown of Franklin, Massachusetts, was recently rocked by its first murder in 20+ years. Some poor kid got shot in the chest by some other kid. Who later died in the hospital. And it's a shame. It's a tragedy all around. So. But as I work in that town, it's been all the talk around the work front. Everybody's got to gossip about it. So I figured I'd get my gossip in now. And by gossip, I mean just stating the fact that it happened. It's good enough for me. No need to go delving into anyone else's business about it. Especially because I don't have all the facts, or really any of them. So, whatever I think doesn't matter. Let me know what you guys think of the music tonight, by the way. I think I kind of dig it. It's not too dissimilar from stuff I'd be listening to anyway. But I just kind of did some digging on YouTube before I went live, just looking for like copyright-free music. And stumbled on this playlist. Thought I'd give it a try. Still a fair bit of work just on these legs. Super happy with the coverage. One of them's the first leg we started is a little bit better, but the second one, there's a lot of spots where it's just not as opaque a layer as I would like. So we're going to add in a little bit more. And just try and fix it up. And drink a little bit more coffee here too. You know, I find that there is a tiny window when you're drinking coffee, hot coffee specifically. There's a tiny window between when it is the right temperature to drink, like it has become cool enough, like it's still hot, but it's drinkable, you know, like it's not gonna melt your mouth. It's not lava in a cup, you know. And then, so when that window starts to the point where it becomes too cold, you've got like a 5-minute window, maybe. And for the record, we've gone way past that window. So this coffee is not in its ideal drinking state currently. But whatever. All right, next up on our to-do list here. Let's take a closer gander. Yeah, all under there needs. Oh, jeez, this leg is just atrocious. And part of it is too that like I'm so. This is my. So it came primed, like the guy that built it had also like primed everything, and so it came with 1 layer of paint minimum already on it. And then I painted it gray, like that dark, sort of like warm gray color, right? So now it's got minimum of 2 coats of paint on it. And this is my 3rd coat of paint, technically, or my 3rd color. There's multiple coats going on, but I'm so concerned about obscuring detail that I'm using like really thin coats of paint, and it is, as a result, taking far longer to reach full opacity. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Slow but sure. Okay. That dry. Let's see. Let's see how that's looking. Actually, since we're kind of in this area, while the legs are drying, we're going to hit the underside of the tail. All this sort of meatiness under here. I do super like this model, by the by. The only thing about this in particular, much like what I was just lamenting about the Mortark kit and the way that, you know, it needs to be done in sub-assemblies in order to really, you know, do a good job. I feel like this guy is much the same way. Like, if I, again, bought him pre-assembled, so there wasn't really much I could do about it. There was no way that I could, like, safely, like, dismantle him and take him apart. He was already, like, well glued together. But that being said, if I, you know, it's real. Let's be honest here. It's not a matter of if, when I buy another one of these, because this kit also builds out as the Terrorgeist, the Royal Terrorgeist, which you can, like, I want for my Legions of Nagash army, I want to have one just where it's just the Terrorgeist, like, which is an option that you can do. So it's just the monster, and he's not, like, considered a mount. He's not being ridden by anything. And then there's the mount version of him, where there is the Ghoul King, abhorrent Ghoul King that rides atop him, which I will also probably get at least one of those. So I'm looking at, like, realistically, I'm probably going to be getting at least 3 more of this kit at some point. So I can have a zombie dragon with no rider. I can have a Terrorgeist with no rider, Terrorgeist with rider, and then I'll have this guy. So I'll basically have at least one of all of the options. And then, depending on, you know, what I like, what I end up, like, using a lot, I might end up picking up more at some point. Who knows? But the Flesh Eater Court Start Collecting box, most people I don't think of it, but it's also a, like, vampire Start Collecting box. Even though it doesn't, like, it's not sold as such. And I say that. You pause. Be watching.
It was about the third week
don't
into
play
Kathy's weight
commercials.
loss
Are you
battle.
serious? Skip ads. Go away. Is this a new? Start this playlist over again, because this one specifically says on it that it is it is copyright free. Epic Music, no copyright, it says. So if I somehow get flagged for copyright, I'm gonna be real mad. Certainly wouldn't be the first time. admit that it is kind of hard to see what I am doing on the camera, and for that I apologize. But if it makes you feel any better, it's kind of hard for me to see what I'm doing. And I'm sitting right here doing it. So, you know. Blending. Yeah, I can't believe how much more I like this color than what was there previously. I realize I kind of keep harping on it, but I think it's just mostly because I'm surprised at what a difference it makes. But I think you can see the legs now. Just rather pleased with the change, that's all. It's looking good. All right. Got a little bit to dry. Oh, I don't know why I didn't mention this sooner. So, we're gonna just do one of these real quick. So, I've been mentioning like week after week after week after week that I ordered new parts for my computer, and I was waiting for specifically the motherboard to come in so that I could redo my computer. Well, as of last week, I had gotten in touch with the company that I had ordered it from and let them know that I hadn't received it yet. They basically said, well, you ordered it specifically from a third party who was selling it through us. So we will email them on your behalf and basically let them know that you have not received the item, and would you like a refund or would you like a replacement? And I was like, at this point, just give me a refund and I'll just order another one. So they were like, all right, cool. So they fired off the email. I got one back a couple of days later from the company that it was like whatever company. I don't remember the name. Excuse me. So anyway, this company, they were like, yeah, we are sorry. We are sold out of that item. We don't have it anymore. And I was like, great. When were you going to let me know? Because I had been waiting for well over a month for this part to be shipped to me. And from where I was sitting, it looked as though like a label had been created for it, and there was no update on its shipping condition or any of that stuff. So, incredibly frustrated. Finally, they were like, all right, sorry, we just don't have it anymore. Would you like a refund? And I was like, hell yes, I want a refund. Give me my money back. And they were like, all right, cool. We'll give you your money back. I said, yes, thank you. And then I waited. and it said it was going to take like, I don't know, let's just put a number on it and say like 8 business days for the refund to hit my account, something like that, right? Probably way more than what it was actually going to be, but anyway. I waited like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. Still no refund. So I got in touch with the original company that I ordered all this from. I was like, guys, we talked to this other company. They said they were going to send me a refund. That was 2 weeks ago, and I still haven't gotten a dime from them. And they were like, all right, we'll just refund you the money because you bought it from our site, like it's our bad, whatever. We'll refund you, and it'll take like, 3 to 5 business days. Like, all right, cool. So I hit my account. I think I called. Good Lord. Sorry, guys. Been up since 3. Remember that. So I think I called them on like, we'll say like a Thursday or a Friday, something like that. Went all through the weekend, and I think like by Monday or Tuesday of the following week, the refund hit my account, which was last week. So I waited a couple of days, and then on Wednesday, I think, it hit my account on Monday. Wednesday, I called, or I went online and ordered a new, ordered a new motherboard. The same exact motherboard I had ordered before, but this time I made sure that it was being like sold by and shipped from the company that I was intending to buy it from, not some third party, right? So I did that on Wednesday, and like Wednesday night, and I think it was last night, so Thursday night, a day later, the motherboard shows up on my front steps. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I waited like probably over, like I ordered the original motherboard in August, and I just got it. Like, obviously I had to go through all this hassle of like, canceling the order, getting a refund, reordering it. But when I did the reorder, I got it in like under 2 days, basically. I was just like, this is insane. So I have the motherboard sitting upstairs. I have the video card, I have the RAM, I have the CPU. It's all ready to go. So chances are this weekend is kind of busy for me. We've got family stuff going on with Halloween tomorrow, and then I think we're doing something on Sunday as well. So maybe like Monday or something, like after work. My buddy's coming over, and he's going to help me kind of put this thing together and get this computer rebuilt. So I'm hoping, moral of the story, I'm hoping that this new computer, like all of the insides of this computer are getting replaced, basically. And I'm hoping that it will be up and running in full swing by next stream. In which case, if not that stream, the following stream will be a split stream or a dual stream between YouTube here and Twitch. So I'm going to start streaming to Twitch. Yeah. So that's going to be a kind of a big deal for me. Now, with this change in, or like addition of platforms and however I'm doing things here, there is a possibility, nay, a probability, that I will also be switching up the day on which I stream, like my streaming schedule in general. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what that's going to look like, but it might end up like a weeknight stream, and it might end up like a 7 to 9 stream on like Thursday or something like that. And I think that might be the most optimal day to do it. But we'll see. We'll see. And the reason for that is as follows. I have a group of, I mean, I guess I could consider them my friends, but it's like my wife's coworkers and her boss have apparently shown great interest in playing D&D. And as I have a number of years of D&D experience under my belt, everyone's gaze kind of collectively turned my way, and so I will likely be starting to DM for them, like not a weekly thing, but it will be either every other week or like once a month or something like that. And if that's the case, then I need to have my Friday nights free to do that. And I think actually there's at least a slim chance that there's another friend of mine, that the guy I'm doing the commission for, who I've done a series of commissions for in the past, and apparently he's got a bunch more lined up for me, and I'm like, yes, more work. But all that being said, the whole point of this is that he's going to be running a D&D game every other Saturday, and so I may be able to participate in that, I'm hoping. But we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, so basically, I have all the stuff for my computer, and hopefully this week I will get it built. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, we will be switching our streaming schedule and our platforms. I've already switched back to YouTube from Facebook. But I will also be adding Twitch into the mix, which is going to be a whole nother can of worms that I'm going to have to get used to. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. But yeah, and then hopefully that will sort of expand my reach a little bit. Lack of a better way of putting it. Really wish I had stopped off, instead of making this terrible cup of coffee I'm now drinking. My wife and I went out for Mexican food from a local place here, and we drove by several coffee places along the way, and I should have grabbed like some Dunkin' or something like that, just to help keep me going through this tonight. Especially as the hour grows later and later, I feel as though I am just dragging a little bit more and a little bit more. I am trying desperately to keep this energy up. But I'll be honest, it is not easy. It's been, as I said, a very long week. And Pretty busy day at work. All told. I mean, we got out at a reasonable time. We didn't have to like work a ton of overtime, but it was a slog just to get there. So, but yeah. Nice. All right, so basically, like the lower half of this model is base coated with this now, and I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. Like, I painted all of this underbelly area as if it was skin and scales. But looking at it, I'm not sure if that's what it's intended to be, or if that's intended to be sort of like muscly tissue. Because, like, if you look, this is all like sort of like along the ribs here. I'm trying to get a good angle of it here. Yeah, you can see like along the ribs. Like, this is all like tattered skin. And I feel like that should probably be the same, obviously the same color if that's the skin. Alright, yeah, I don't know why I'm sort of hemming and hawing over this. Let's just do that. We're going to leave the tail portion that I painted on the underbelly the way it is, because I like it that way. We're just gonna smooth that paint right out. And here we go. So we're gonna come in and real gentle like. And then what we'll do is when we come back through and do our like highlighting and stuff like that, we will use the highlighting to better show the contrast between this tattered skin on top. This will be slightly lighter than the sort of scales underneath. At least that's the game plan. It looks good on paper. All right. That aside. So what does everybody have planned for Halloween? I actually just got a large chunk of my Halloween costume in the mail today from Amazon. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do until I got this piece, and then it just kind of clicked a little bit. So my plan initially, well, let's be honest, I didn't really have a plan going into it. I had like a few different ideas that I was like, well, maybe I'll do this. And I built myself, and maybe I'll show this off on a future stream. I don't feel like digging it out right now, but I built myself a chainmail shirt, like a full-on like armored shirt. I built all the chainmail, like put it all together, cut all the rings, like I did all the work, and I'm super proud of it. Like it took me a hell of a long time just to do one shirt. I can't imagine like being an armorer in like the Middle Ages and having to churn out a ton of these things. I mean, I guess you'd probably have apprentices and things like that to kind of help you out, and I mostly did it myself. I think my wife, who was not my wife at the time, but my wife helped me cut some of the links at one point. But after like 45 minutes, her hand was hurting, and she was like, "Okay, I'm done." Like, okay, thanks anyway. I appreciate the help. Any help is good help. But yeah, so that's usually my default, is like I will wear my chainmail, and I have like a sort of like Viking style spangle helm, and I've got like a replica bearded axe, like, you know, sort of like Viking style, Norse style bearded axe, as well as a replica Viking sword. So, worst case scenario, when I need a costume for something, and this is usually like my sort of default Ren Fair gear too, is just strap on the chainmail and like some weapons, and suddenly I am a knight or Viking or barbarian, or, you know, just like, you can change the name slightly, but it's essentially the same crap. But yeah, that was my plan B. I bought at like the Halloween store, I don't know, probably like 3 years ago, just on a lark. I picked up a like a gray felt wizard hat, like I think like Gandalf the Grey, his like hat. And so I was like, well, maybe I can do something with that. Like maybe I can like put together like a wizard outfit or something like that. And so that was basically the only instruction I gave my wife, was like, I kind of want to be a wizard. Mind you, my daughter is going to be a dragon, and my wife is going to be a bat. And so I was like, well, I don't really know how I'm going to be. That like, there's nothing that I can think of that like works with both of those that is something that I can even like vaguely accomplish. And I was like, well, what about like the wizard thing? Like that's got legs, like that I could probably get away with. So my wife goes and buys me a wizard robe kind of thing, right? It's like this $20 goofy robe thing, but it's black. The hat I had was gray, and I'm like, well, that's gonna kind of not look so great. But I think I'm just gonna scrap the hat altogether. And my game plan now, given especially like the army that I'm working on and all this nonsense, like I'm just gonna be a fucking necromancer, wear a black robe, just splatter some face paint on myself, make myself look all decrepit and kind of scary looking, and walk around with like a skeleton and a staff. Boom, done. Call it a day. So that's my active plan right now. Is necromancer. That's what I'm going with. So I'll be sure to get pictures. We're going to my wife's aunt's house and handing out candy there to anybody that actually is out trick-or-treating. Which, frankly, we're not expecting a lot of people, but that's fine. It's basically going to be like a family-only, like, teeny-tiny, like, 4 to 10 person, like, Halloween party. You know? Hopefully something fun for my daughter. That's about it. And I realize I sound like a broken record here because I've said this a number of times over the course of the broadcast tonight, but I am super happy with this color. I like the way this is turning out quite a bit. Awesome. Okay, so now from about the wings down is all base coated in this blue-gray. I gotta tell you, I am a big fan. Actually, I have told you on a number of occasions already today just how big a fan I am. Massive improvement. Kind of holding it at arm's length and giving a little rotate. I'm going to see if there's any glaring areas that I've missed so far. Checking the time. Alright. Maybe we move on to the wings now? Let's give Instagram a quick 360 here. So this is what we're dealing with. That he's real fancy. So my sort of inspiration for a lot of the stuff, colors with this dragon, as I mentioned, the army as a whole, I have attempted to loosely base off of the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, specifically the Scourge, which was the faction run by Arthas the Lich King. It was a bunch of undead and death knights, and they had a number of frost worms that had been raised as essentially Dracoliches, if you're familiar with the D&D. It was basically an undead zombie dragon. Syndragosa was the sort of the most noteworthy of the bunch. She was kind of the mother of them all. And it was after her that I drew inspiration for this model. I tried to pick similar colors to Sindragosa in terms of like the wing membranes and you know, the overall like sort of blue tones. The let's see if I can find an angle and you can actually see. So that bright blue swirly bits in the middle, I believe that that is supposed to be like, as far as the sculpt goes, that's supposed to be like his guts, you know what I mean, like intestines and all the little meaty bits inside. But I decided to paint it like it was death magic, just swirling around, like it's just like a constantly swirling like nexus, which is again something that Sindragosa had, like sort of like this internal glow of the sort of bright blue, frosty, cold death magic going on. It's cool. She was an awesome dragon. The raid fight involving her was a pain in the ass. Felt real good to kill her for the first time, I tell you what. We were stuck on that fight for ages. All because of like a couple people in our group too. I was frustrated as the guild's raid leader at the time because I wanted nothing more than to kick out the problem people, because we were stuck on this fight for months. I remember just every week when it was raid night, we would fight our way to this fight. We'd go in and we'd spend hours just practicing the fight, dying over and over and over and over again. And it was always because of the same like one or two people, because they just couldn't get with the program. Everybody else knew what to do, and technically they knew what to do. It's just sometimes they made the conscious decision to not do it. Which drove me nuts. And I, on a number of occasions, like wanted to just straight up replace them. Get somebody else to come in. But I was told, I believe, that because basically they didn't want to do that, the guild leadership did not want to do that, because we did not advertise as being like a hardcore raiding guild. So people, you know, were not expecting to be kind of treated that way. And I was like, look, if you're going to come in and waste the time of a bunch of other people, like, those people are looking to actually kill things, you know? Like, we're here to progress and get through these raids, farm the fights that we have on farm, and so on and so forth. And, like, as the raid leader, it is literally my job to lead the raids and make sure that they are successful. And I can't do that when I have somebody that's, like, just willfully being an idiot and not listening. Like, you ask him what he's supposed to do, and he can repeat to you word for word exactly what he's supposed to do, but then when it comes time to do it, he just ignores it entirely. I'm sure everybody can relate. Everybody knows somebody in their life like that. Hell, I'm sure I'm like that at times. Just about different shit. But anyway, that's the story. Or at least that's a story. I have to remind myself sometimes that this is not finished. As I was just sort of like sweeping this paint on, and I saw the purple next to this blue, and I was like, I don't know that I like those two colors right next to each other. But I haven't actually finished the underside of these wings yet, so there's going to be a lot of shifting in that color. It's either going to be a lot lighter or it's going to be a lot darker, and there's going to be sufficient contrast. I think it's either going to have like sort of like black lining going on to like add some better separation, or that part of the wing will be a little bit lighter, so the dark light contrast. So one way or another, there's going to be there will be better contrast in that area. And it is not currently in its final state. Not even close. Alright. Got for time. How can we hold this? There we go. I'm going to find new and interesting ways to hold the model so that I can actually see what I need to see, while trying to also keep it in frame, while also not touching any areas with wet paint. As I said before, this would be definitely easier if I wasn't doing this on stream, but then that would kind of defeat the purpose, wouldn't it? Super into it. Alright, that wing is done. We got the top and the bottom. Alright. Almost there, team. At least for this color. Almost there. Choke down the last of this coffee. I think the worst part about this coffee is the expectations. Like, on the one hand, I feel like you should never trust a brand that says, like, on its packaging that it's the best at X. Because chances are that's just them saying that and nobody else cares. Which is the case with this coffee. It says it's New Hampshire's best coffee. Is it? Because I've had Dunkin' Donuts in New Hampshire that was better than this coffee. Sorry, guys. And I'm fairly certain every coffee from New Hampshire probably says that they are the best coffee in New Hampshire. Doesn't make it true. Yeah. I just realized that I'm still live on Instagram. And usually it goes for an hour and then makes you restart the video, but it's still going strong, it looks like, from when I started this, like, at 9. Weird. It ought not be doing that. Unless they changed it. Which is good, if they got rid of that, like, 1 hour limit. But it was a weird hurdle to have to jump over. Alright, do I have time to finish this other wing? I mean, yes, in theory. But I'm trying to let things dry so that I can safely handle it without rubbing off any of the paint. Then I still have to do the skin on his head and finish the skin on his, like, upper torso-y neck. Basically from his shoulders up over his head. So I can already see plenty of spaces where I'm going to need to, like, clean up the bone. Which is going to be tricky because the bone came primed in one color and then I kind of just put a wash over it and then dry brushed it, and I'm going to have to try and match that bone color somehow, and I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to do that. But, yeah, whatever. I guess we'll try. No harm in trying, right? Oh, what time? What time? All right, let's do at least a little bit more here. This is, after all, the climactic resolution of our Spooky Spook-tober Spooktacular. I feel like if we don't at least finish the base coating of this. If I hadn't been up since 3 o'clock this morning, I would just keep streaming. But I am thoroughly exhausted. And I haven't seen the new episode of The Mandalorian yet. So, once this is done, I think that's where my my attention is going. I'm going to watch episode 1 of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and then pass out. And then probably watch it again tomorrow, because chances are I will fall asleep halfway through it. I is tired. Actually, you know, looking over some of these areas in here, base coated, I'm really pleased with the way that this color coated. The actual finished coat is very smooth. So that gives me hope. I might have to revisit some of these areas and give it another coat, because I think some of them are still look a little uneven, a little spotty. But the thing I was worried about was like obscuring detail, and in those places where I've got that nice smooth coat, it looks like I still have plenty of my detail. So did not in fact lose any detail, and I got a nice good solid coat. And to me, that is a singular win. Doesn't get much better than that. It is the painting equivalent to having one's cake and eating it too. Now I have to remember that I'm putting fresh paint on this guy, so that means the next game I play him in, he's going to get wrecked. That's how it works. First time playing with a model, when it has fresh paint on it, it gets destroyed every time. I think I know why. Obviously, I don't think there's like a curse of like painting your minis or something silly like that. But I think it's something psychological. And I think it's as follows. I believe that you are so excited to have a model that is painted, and a painted model looks so much cooler than an unpainted model. So I hypothesize that you are so excited to get that painted model on the table, looking cool, doing cool stuff, that you will often just throw caution to the wind and throw that model headlong into fights that it has no business being in. And as a result, it will find itself often overwhelmed, outgunned, outnumbered, outmatched, one or all of the above, and then finds itself real dead real fast as a result. So it's basically your own over-eagerness to play with your new toys is what kills them. That's my theory, at least. I think it sounds good, right? Sounds like it makes sense. Hey, maybe I'll get lucky and it actually does even make sense, whether it's true or not. But the great thing about it is that's the kind of hypothesis that it really doesn't matter if you're right or not. Like, it sounds plausible enough, and that's like, that's kind of good enough. You know, it's just such an up for, such an up for interpretation kind of subjective thing that any one of a number of answers could in fact all be true at the same time. All right, we did it, team. With 10 minutes left to spare, I'm not going to work on the little bits over the shoulders and on the head. That's a lot of detail that I would like to save for when my eyes are a little fresher. A little fresher? A little more fresh? Most fresh? I don't know. Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. My ass is half asleep. And I'm going a little cross-eyed looking at this stuff. So we're going to drop him back into his base. We're going to rinse our brush. We're going to gently set him aside. And I can tell you right now, again, I know I've said it, but I'm going to say it again. This paint is way better than what was on there. Yeah, for sure. Now that being said, I'm not entirely sure how we're going to deal with shading and highlighting and stuff like that. I have some ideas, but they will probably be slow. It's going to involve a lot of little layers, super thin glazing of paints. But considering this is like the most awesome like centerpiece model for my army, like this is my general. This is the big dude himself. Like, I feel like if you're gonna lavish attention on anybody, it should be him. Alright, well, anyway guys, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's stream. I want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out, spending some time with me. I hope y'all had fun. I know I did. Happy Halloween. I hope everybody has a good, safe Halloween. Obviously, with COVID, there's not going to be a ton of trick-or-treating. Some places are more open to it than others. But, you know, just use your best judgment. Use some discretion. Be safe. And be good to each other. You know? There's enough shitty people out there. Don't be one of them. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. That's my words of wisdom for the day. If you don't mind, please like and or subscribe. Definitely go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed it even a little bit. It helps other people find it and hopefully get some enjoyment out of it themselves. Subscribe if you'd like to see more future content, as well as clicking the little bell icon will notify you when said content goes up. I haven't quite got a deadline down for when the next like wave of content is going to hit my channel. The barrier to entry was getting my computer upgraded. And now that I have the motherboard, hopefully my computer will be upgraded the beginning of next week, which means from there I can start in earnest trying to, record and edit some videos without my computer crashing. Which, speaking of, and I realize it could still do it, but we didn't get a single computer crash all stream today, and I'm super stoked about that. So, anyway, like and subscribe. Stay tuned to the channel for more content. There's going to be plenty of painting stuff, army showcases, battle reports, some more like vlog style stuff as I work through building terrain and various other kind of like larger scale hobby projects. Maybe even some painting tutorials might make their way onto the channel at some point. Mostly if like I get questions often on like, how did you paint X? Then, instead of just typing comments back to them all the time, that, like if I get even like one person a month asking me the same question, I'll probably just be like, why don't I just make a video and show you guys? So I think that's likely where I'm going to head with that. But yeah, anyway, that's all coming in the future. Otherwise, you can follow me on the rest of my socials, Instagram, Twitter. It's all at Wes Odinson, WESODINSON. And you can follow me there for work in progress shots, as well as like finished stuff, news updates, things along those lines. Admittedly, I am really bad at posting on Twitter. I don't tend to use it because not a lot of people tend to follow me on it, and that's probably a vicious cycle. But that being said, hey, it's there. That's all I got. I'm done for the night, guys. My brain is just shot. So again, thank you for joining me. Until next week, be good to each other, take care of one another, and hobby on, make something magical. All right. So bye.